Imagine walking into two different barbershops, each offering the same haircut but at varying prices. Now let's say one shop charges $50 for a trim, while the other only demands $20. Naturally, you'd flock to the cheaper option unless there's some extraordinary value addition at the pricier joint. This, my friends, is demand in action. But let's mix things up a bit. Suppose the $20 barber is swamped with customers while the $50 one is twiddling his thumbs. The cheaper barber, seeing the opportunity, might hike his prices, say, to $30. Meanwhile, the pricier barber, desperate for business, could lower his charge to $40. This is supply at work, responding to demand. As these price adjustments continue, eventually they'll reach a point where both barbers are charging the same price that customers are willing to pay. In the world of economics, this scenario perfectly illustrates the concept of supply and demand and how these two forces find their balance or equilibrium. Ever pondered why you might buy more of a product when its price drops? Well, that's the magic of economics at play. Let's delve into the law of demand, a fundamental principle that governs our shopping habits and, quite frankly, our lives. The law of demand in its simplest form states that if all other factors remain equal, the higher the price of a good, the less people will demand that good. Conversely, the lower the price, the more people will demand it. It's a relationship as old as commerce itself, and it's what keeps our markets ticking. Think about the last time you walked into a store during a seasonal sale. Suddenly, those sneakers you've been eyeing for months seem a lot more affordable. You're not alone in this. As the price drops, more customers are willing to part with their hard-earned cash. That's the law of demand in action. Or consider clearance items. Ever wondered why stores drastically slash prices on certain products? It's not just to clear inventory, it's also a strategic move to increase demand. By lowering the price, they're making the product more enticing, more within reach. And voila, before you know it, customers are flocking to the store, eager to snag a bargain. But remember, the law of demand isn't just about prices and products, it's about people, it's about you and me. It's about our behavior, our decisions, our desires. It's about how we respond to changes in price, how we weigh the value of a product against its cost. It's a reflection of our rationality, our pursuit of maximizing satisfaction while minimizing expenditure. The law of demand is everywhere. It's in the bustling markets, the quiet online stores, the crowded malls, and yes, even in your shopping cart. It's a subtle force, silently guiding our hands as we reach for our wallets. This, folks, is the law of demand at work, simple yet powerful. Now let's flip the coin and look at it from a seller's perspective. Welcome to the world of supply, the law of supply, to be precise. In its simplest form, this law posits that as the price of a good or service increases, the quantity of goods or services that suppliers offer will increase, and vice versa. Let's illustrate this with an example. Imagine a farmer in the heartland of America. It's harvest season, and the price of corn is particularly high this year. The farmer, seeing an opportunity to make a tidy profit, decides to plant more corn than usual. By doing so, he's responding to the market price, and in turn, increasing the supply of corn. Now suppose the price of corn drops dramatically the following year. Our farmer isn't keen on selling his corn for peanuts, so he decides to plant less corn and maybe switch to another crop that fetches a higher price. Here, the low price has influenced the farmer to decrease the supply of corn. This example underscores an essential aspect of the law of supply. Price changes influence producer behavior. Higher prices provide an incentive for producers to supply more because they stand to make a greater profit. On the flip side, lower prices can discourage production because the potential for profit is less attractive. It's also important to note that the law of supply doesn't exist in isolation. Other factors can influence supply, such as the cost of production, technological advancements, and government policies. For instance, a sudden increase in the cost of fertilizer might cause our farmer to reduce his corn production even if the price of corn is high. And there you have it, folks, the law of supply in all its glory, showing us that sellers, like buyers, respond to changes in price. This law helps us understand the motivations of producers and how these motivations affect the quantity of goods and services available in the market. That, in essence, is the law of supply, a mirror image of its demand counterpart. What happens when the forces of supply and demand come face to face? Well, they perform a delicate dance, a tango if you will, known as the dance of equilibrium. This dance is an integral part of our everyday lives, influencing everything from the price of our morning coffee to the cost of our dream home. Let's dive into this dance and see how it works. Picture a bustling housing market. There are a certain number of houses available. That's our supply. There are also a certain number of people who want to buy houses. That's our demand. The price of the houses will be determined by how these two forces interact. If there are more houses than buyers, the price will likely drop. After all, sellers want to make a sale, and they're more likely to do so if the price is low. This is what we call a buyer's market. But what if the situation is reversed? What if there are more buyers than there are houses? Well, in this case, the price will likely rise. This is because sellers can afford to hold out for a higher price, knowing there are plenty of buyers waiting in the wings. We call this a seller's market. Now let's consider another example: stock prices. In the stock market, the dance of equilibrium is happening every second of every trading day. If more people want to buy a particular stock than sell it, the price will rise. If more people want to sell than buy, the price will fall. But here's the thing, this dance is never static. It's always in motion, constantly adjusting to new information, market conditions, and consumer preferences. That's why stock prices fluctuate throughout the day, and why the housing market can shift from a buyer's to a seller's market, and back again. And there we have it, the dance of equilibrium, where supply and demand meet and prices are decided. This dance is an essential part of economics, and understanding it can help us make sense of the world around us. It's a dance we're all a part of, whether we realize it or not. Ever wondered why a small change in the price of salt doesn't affect its sales much, but the same can't be said for luxury cars. In the fascinating world of economics, the concept that helps us understand this phenomenon is called elasticity. Elasticity, in its most basic sense, is a measure of how much consumers react to changes in various factors. These factors could be price, income, or the price of other goods. But for now, let's focus on price elasticity of demand, which measures the responsiveness of demand to changes in price. Consider salt a staple in every household. Even if the price of salt doubles or triples, you'd probably still buy it, right? This is because the demand for salt is inelastic. Inelastic demand means that the quantity demanded doesn't change much with price changes. This is usually the case for necessities or goods with no close substitutes. On the other hand, think about luxury cars. If the price of your dream car suddenly doubled, would you still buy it? Probably not, unless you're rolling in dough. This is an example of elastic demand, where a small change in price leads to a large change in quantity demanded. Luxury goods, non-essentials, or goods with many substitutes typically have elastic demand. But remember, elasticity isn't just about demand. There's also something called price elasticity of supply, which measures how the quantity supplied responds to changes in price. If the price of gold rises, gold miners will want to mine more. That's elastic supply. But if the price of apples falls, apple farmers can't just stop growing apples. That's inelastic supply. So, elasticity is a lot like a rubber band. Some stretch a lot with a little pull, and some barely stretch at all. But instead of rubber bands, we're talking about the demand or supply of goods and services, and instead of pulling, we're talking about changes in price. So, elasticity tells us how much of a stretch or change a product's demand or supply has in response to price changes. Now you've had just a taste of the fascinating world of economics, and what a world it is, brimming with intriguing concepts and compelling stories that shape our everyday lives. Your exploration need not end here. In fact, it's just the beginning. You could dive into the pages of Freakonomics by Stephen D. Levitt and Stephen J. Dubner, a book that brings economic principles to life in relatable and unexpected ways. Or you might choose to embark on an online journey with platforms like Khan Academy, offering comprehensive courses that delve deeper into the complexities of economics. From supply and demand to fiscal policy, it's a realm ripe for discovery. Each new concept you grasp, each theory you understand is another tool in your toolkit, empowering you to make more informed decisions. Remember, every purchase you make, every financial decision is a step in your lifelong adventure with economics. So why not learn to navigate it better?